Educational inequality.
Education inequality.
Educational inequality.
Educational inequality.
Educational inequality is probably more than anything else the fundamental root of broader inequality.
What is educational inequality? Educational inequality is where one does not receive equality in education. Educational inequality is affected by a few factors, those factors being discrimination, family wealth, and government policies.
And of course, we know that the boundaries of the school district are connected to redlining and historical practices to lock in poor people, particularly poor people of color, in urban communities and have suburbs and exurbs that are more wealthy and tend to be disproportionately white. So once you connect your remedy to the district line, by definition, you're perpetuating the practices of racial segregation. And so we've seen remedies that have required more funding, and we absolutely know we need more funding in many of our schools, particularly our urban schools. We know for too long they've been disinvested in.
Family wealth plays the biggest role in educational inequality. It is important to note that public schools are mostly funded by the property taxes of the district in which they are located. Typically, areas that contain predominantly non-whites are less wealthy than areas made up of mostly whites, which is another issue in itself. The property is often less valuable, meaning lower property taxes and less funding for schools.
Talking about what was happening under legal segregation, forced segregation at a time when I guess the government in many ways could at best be described as indifferent towards blacks, if not hostile toward blacks. We still hear talk of segregation today, society resegregating, and this gets into a lot of the education reform debate. Some of the best education reformers out there run schools that are largely black and Hispanic. And the fact that they're achieving this academic success that is off the charts doesn't stop critics from saying they're segregated, and that's a bad thing, and that is reason enough to rethink some of these education reforms.
Government classism and discrimination also play a big role in causing educational inequality. For example, numerous studies and surveys have found that schools serving primarily students of color almost always have less resources to work with than schools that serve primarily white students. Furthermore, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, in 2014, 87% of white students graduated high school, whereas only 73% of black students did the same. Test scores demonstrated a similar gap. There are other examples of this.
Someone who is blind and needs to learn Braille, it's very difficult in a normal public school situation to teach someone Braille while you're also in first grade, to also be teaching someone how to read, normal reading and writing. So that might be a situation. It's best for that child to go to a private school that specializes in teaching students who are blind or deaf, or some students have, severe dyslexia, those kinds of concepts.
The irresponsibility and neglect of state governments in enacting policy regarding education is another massive contributor to educational inequality.
As you guys probably know, there are three ways in which schools receive their funding. There's federal, there's state, and then there's the local tax base. So again, state to state, it will vary. Even within the federal, oftentimes the federal monies will come in what's called block grants to the state, and then the state gets to utilize it however they want. So that's why you also see some differences from state to state in the way it's managed.
Why must this problem be addressed? Educational inequality needs to be addressed because it decreases the chances of an individual making it to higher education. And while some may not want to pursue this option, it is still crucial that they have it.
Going to college gave me advanced training in my field, which is communications, and sort of taught me how to look at things from the way a communications professional looks at them, which is not something I got in high school.
Our proposed solution to this issue is pushing communities to fight for government action, such as increasing teacher training and dedicating more of the state budget towards education to improve content and resources.